All right, everyone. Thanks for your patience. This is the Planning and Development Committee meeting of January 13th, 2014. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. The first item is approval of regular meeting minutes of December 9th, 2013. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Okay. The first item for consideration is P1, Ordinance 12-0-14, granting special use for a Type 2 restaurant, Harold's Chicken Shack. The ZBA and the city staff recommend adoption of this ordinance, granting a special use for operation of a Type 2.
Second.
I'm seconding.
Okay. This is for introduction. All right.
Anybody here from,
Yeah, is there anyone here from
There is.
Harold's? Would you like to step forward and just introduce yourself? And great.
I just got a really bad cold, and I have cabin fever from being in the house so long. So excuse me how I look today. Hi, Alderman Rainey. I've called you many times, but I know you're busy.
I've gone back.
I know we've been playing phone.
What I want to know is about the vent. How are you going to vent the grease and cooking?
Oh, and we have a hood that's already in the restaurant. It's vented out through the roof. It goes out
It goes all the way up?
all the way up.
Stories, is
Yep.
it?
It's only 2 stories, and it's ran out the back of the building. And it goes up through the ductwork. It's a ductwork that's vented out and.
Had it checked and is it in?
I will have a license, which is Action, who do a lot of hoods for the city of Chicago. I'm sure they do out here too. Action is a certified company. I will have them come out, and it has to be in Chicago. They have to check and sign off on it before you get the permit. It's part of the permit process.
Are you going to have the Harold's Chicken car?
No, only one person has that. And he still has it.
Where is it?
I think that last time I seen it was on 62nd and Ashland somewhere.
Well,
The guy
have you
has.
ever seen it?
He has about, I think, he's had it 16 stores at one time, Mr. Lee, and that's his car, so he's the only one that has that.
Well, I think it would be nice if you had it for the grand opening.
Yeah, I think I have some chickens, though, some chicken costumes that I bought on another store I opened. I have a little chicken truck, and I had the chickens outside, with the flyers and the signs and stuff like that, and they brought a lot of attention.
All right, let's just remember that you're in the grade 8th ward, and we don't like a lot of fake chickens.
Okay.
All right, I welcome you, and I wish you all the best, but you're in a very problematic location, and I encourage you to be very careful and to be diligent and, tough love and,
Yeah.
It's true, it's very difficult.
Well, I'm coming from Chicago, so.
Well, I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interest. I hope it works.
Yeah, and I think it comes with the territory of fast food and carry-out business. It's just you have to be very extra guarded. I believe that because you have to run a tight ship. You have to make sure. That's why I didn't provide a lot of seating, because sometimes when you have, in all my stores, I don't have sit down because I want them just to get their food, to be honest, and leave, because I don't want to ever have the loitering, or people hanging out, because on 79th Street, I find myself all day refereeing kids. That's probably why I got sick, because get out of here, what are you doing in front of here, what are you doing here? And I find myself chasing them, and I have watched them on my cameras all day. They just, it takes a lot of monitoring.
You have a great base of customers at 415 Howard. I mean, it's right next door.
Yeah.
If you run a tight ship, you will get customers.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Glad.
All righty.
Any other questions? All right. It's been moved and seconded to introduce. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Do I need to stay, or can I go?
No, you don't need to
Okay,
stay.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
It's
you.
kind of dark out here driving at night. Down the expressway. It's kind of got to take my time going back.
Okay.
I agree with you.
All right. Next item is P2, Ordinance 13014, granting special use for a Type 2 restaurant, DMK Burger Bar and Fish Bar. The ZBA and the city staff recommend approval, granting a special use for this new Type 2 restaurant. Do we have anyone representing DMK Burger here? So would you like to come up and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm David Morton.
You look like you.
I'm sorry. And I've got a partner that's named Michael Kornick, who's not here tonight. We're both Evanston residents.
Third Ward residents. Yeah. Yeah.
Seconded?
I don't believe it has been. We need a motion and a second.
No, I moved. I second.
All right. Yes, go ahead, Alderman Fisk.
Same question Alderman Rainey had on the last issue, and that was, were you venting? Oh, we haven't had this kind of food preparation in that location before. It was formerly Fresh, it was a bakery, and
Right.
And so how will you be venting? It's, for those of you who don't know, it's backing up to a large apartment building and then condo buildings, so it's all residential around it.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that we're not blowing into
Yeah.
an apartment building.
So there was an existing hood that we removed and replaced, but kept the chase and the black iron in the same location. So it just vents straight out through the roof.
Okay, so it vents straight up?
Correct.
And, okay,
Yep.
doesn't aim in
Not
one
that I'm aware
direction
of,
or
no.
another? Okay. And can you tell me how those hoods are made in terms of grease collection and
Right.
odors that might be emanating?
Yeah, I'll do my best. This
Okay.
is not my forte.
Okay,
So we have separate grease traps, and it's a super expensive piece of equipment. This is our 7th restaurant, and it's a similar equipment package that we've installed elsewhere. They're not all DMK burger bars or fish bars, but they all have a similar kind of fry station component to them. We're great neighbors. We've got a track record of being great neighbors, and we have had historically no incidents whatsoever as far as odors or inconveniences to the neighborhood.
okay, okay. Fine.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of introduction, please say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thanks so much.
What is your timeline if this is approved at the city council for opening?
In the next 4 weeks.
Okay, great. All right. We're going to have another entry in the Burger Wars. Okay, item P3, ordinance 14014, granting a special use for a retirement home and major zoning relief for a one-story addition at 1300 Oak Avenue. The ZBA and the city staff recommend adopting this ordinance granting a special use permit for a retirement home. Do we have any?
Second.
Okay. Would you like to step forward and identify yourself?
Good evening, Yosef Maistel.
You're from Evanston Nursing Home?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of introduction, please say aye. Aye. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, we have P4, ordinance 2014, amending various portions of the city code of bed and breakfast establishments. The Plan Commission and city staff are recommending amending the zoning ordinance to establish a type 1 and type 2 bed and breakfast establishments. This is for introduction tonight. Shall we have a brief report from the staff? Would you like to briefly discuss this, Mark?
Sure. Mark Munzer, Director of Community Development. In your packet, you'll see a memo from staff as to how we and the Plan Commission decided to approach this after some previous discussions on the topic. We did some research in other communities that have B&Bs in the community and that we felt somewhat resembled Evanston to try and tackle, if council so chooses, to further regulate the establishments. And basically what we came up with, and the summary is on the second page of my memo to you, is to separate the B&Bs into a type 1 and a type 2. A type 1 would be 2 bedrooms or less. It would effectively be accessory to a residence. It would be a situation typically where a household needed to augment their income and develop a B&B in just a couple rooms of their residence. It would still require a special use, and there would be no distance requirement from other B&Bs. What it would change is the way the ordinance reads right now. It just said there's no ownership percentage tied to the fact that it needs to be owner occupied according to the ordinance. This would put a number on that. It would be 33% ownership interest of somebody living on site. The type 2 would be the higher intensity use. It would be more commercial in nature. It would be up to 5 bedrooms. It would have the same 33% owner occupancy. It would still require special use. The Plan Commission, despite many attempts and motions, could not come up with an exact distance requirement, though they believed that a distance requirement was needed between the other type 2 or the higher intensity uses. So in light of that, staff took the highest number that they came up with, which was 1,500 feet, which is effectively about 3 blocks, a radius around the site. So that's the proposal in front of you.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, I move introduction.
Is there a second till we can discuss this? I'll second it. Okay. Any discussion? Alderman Fisk, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, I will speak to this.
Yes.
This is a reference by Alderman Nguyen, the second go-around at the Plan Commission. I attended the Plan Commission meeting, and I thought the discussion was very good. I mean, clearly, they understood the proliferation of commercial bed and breakfasts in particular neighborhoods and how that might, what effect that might have on those neighborhoods. And I thought they had a very, very good discussion. The only area, as Mr. Munzer said, that they were having trouble with is what the distance requirement for a commercial use should be. I mean, currently in the First Ward, we have 2 approved commercial B&Bs that are within 100 feet of one another. We have an application, I believe. Was that submitted or withdrawn, or what is the status of that?
There's a third application that's scheduled for the ZBA on February 4th at 1722 Judson.
Right, so that is within a block of the 2 approved B&Bs. So what we're seeing is a proliferation of B&Bs in a certain neighborhood. And we feel that it's time to address this. It was a concern that was raised as the other 2 B&Bs were in front of us for discussion. I think the feeling of the council at that time was that after approval of those, we would wait and see what happened. And what we're seeing is that there is interest by other parties to open commercial B&Bs especially in the lakefront neighborhoods. So I was happy to listen to the discussion. I had a ward meeting that was well attended where we discussed this. It was on the agenda, and I think this has the support of the neighborhood. They would like to see stricter enforcement, but I think they're happy to have this come forward. And I hope that those of you who are in other wards would understand that these commercial uses really are disruptive in some people's minds to the residential character of neighborhoods.
Alderman Rainey?
I'm going to pass for now, but, I mean, we don't really know that yet, because there's never been an opening of the B&B that we're talking about, the ones that are supposedly too close to each other, so.
All right.
I had other comments, but I think they're premature.
All right, I don't see any other lights, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
If you're opposed, could you raise your hand? Okay. The motion's defeated. And with that, we can, yes, Alderman Rainey?
I believe according to our rules, it can still be introduced, off the consent agenda. And
Right,
dealt
yeah.
with.
Okay, thank you. Mhm. Yes, Alderman Fisk?
As a courtesy, it would be helpful to know why folks are opposing. I understand you don't need to say that, but I think residents might be interested in knowing.
Like, what I like about the proposal is distinguishing between the type 1 and type 2 bed and breakfast establishments. I have issues with the owner occupancy 33% requirement. I also have issues with the idea of a distance requirement, given that bed and breakfast right now, I believe, require a special use permit and go through the process. I also have questions about how this aligns with our short-term occupancy licensing ordinance, because there are already, I'm guessing, we have one licensed short-term rental. If you check on Airbnb, I'm guessing that there are many more operating within Evanston. They don't require a special use, and they're existing within Evanston in the same way and perhaps with the same impact that a type 1 bed and breakfast would have. That's my initial thinking on this, having read the packet materials. So for me, it's the ownership issue, a distance requirement, and I can't remember what else I said, but I do like the idea of the two different types of bed and breakfast establishments. Oh, our short-term rental.
Right.
And how that either is distinct from it or aligns with it, and are we consistent between how we are looking to regulate the type 1s and our short-term rentals? How are they different?
Alderman Wilson?
Thank you, and I agree with much of what Alderman Grover said, so I won't repeat those points, but with regard to the ownership interest requirement, I understand where that comes from and I understand what that's about, but at the same time, it seems I don't want to call it arbitrary, but I think it's a little arbitrary. The other thing is, as I've given this a lot of thought over the past, year and a half since these have been discussed, I guess in my own mind, I still feel like this is more the kind of thing that be, I guess, a case-by-case basis situation as opposed to setting, distance requirements. You might have an area where 0 would be appropriate. None would be appropriate in certain areas. You might have an area where 2 or 3 in a row might be a good idea. It's just, it seems to be more appropriate for a case-by-case kind of analysis, and with the special use process that we have in place, it does subject them to a significant degree of scrutiny, so it's not something that somebody can come in and get, without any review.
Alderman Holmes?
I did not attend the meeting, but I did watch the replay on TV, so I did get to hear the exchange between the Plan Commission members, in terms, and I heard a lot of wavering back and forth between the discussion. My issue, of course, is with the owner occupancy requirement. I think it's high, 33%. I think that's really high. And I also think that, since we don't have a track record yet, to be able to say what kind of impact it's having just isn't right. And since it's always going to be a special use, we always have the option of voting for or against it. So I just don't think that we should do this yet.
Alderman Tandem?
Thank you. I agree, too. The special use is really what I can't conceive of any other way of dealing with this except special use. We don't have that many in the pipeline. We don't have that many that we foresee, but I think it's something we could anticipate, and certainly the cases that come before council at this point could be dealt with one-on-one. And like all the others said, there are special circumstances. The other thing I have a real big issues with is the radial dimension for proximity to another B&B. I know there was some discussion about a linear measure that would be, I suppose, on the street in a linear way, but the radial dimension just casts a big net. You have to consider that it goes, several blocks behind a particular B&B would also be restricted, and it could be a totally different neighborhood, a totally different situation, very unaware of what's going on in another part of town. It does cast a wide net, like I said, and I think that's really unfair. So the special use is the way to go, I believe, and I hope that's what we can pursue.
All right, I see no further lights. At this point, that concludes our all of the items for this evening.
Move adjournment.
So we're adjourned.